where it came. You know, these goyim playing cards. That's why that Sefer Torah would never be kosher. Schus HaTzadikim Yogan Aleinu. Now, the Shivchei Baal Shem Tov itself says that stories about tzaddikim is like learning Ma'aseh Merkava, the work of the chariot, which is one of the highest things to learn in Kabbalah. Right? So even if you hear a story like this, which is A, fairly short, and B, fairly simple, right? But still, there's, you know, if you need the case, if you need the story, and you kvetch it like this, and you kvetch it like that, over time, there's many things you can learn from the story. And then one of the more obvious lessons is that it makes a difference what the motivation and the source of even something in Kedusha is. Certainly the Jew who commissioned the Sefer Torah, right, it's a very holy thing to have a Sefer Torah written. But the very fact that the money came for the Sefer Torah through this thing, and he didn't do anything illegal himself. He didn't gamble. He didn't go to Vegas and win at the blackjack. You know, he just rented out the room. Even so, that money was not kosher enough to write a Sefer Torah that was worthy of being kosher all the time. Right? So that's something that we can think about in our own selves when we invest. You know, we give money to a shul. But you know, which of my monies am I giving to the shul, you know, or to a yeshiva, or whatever it may be? Am I giving the more kosher part of my money, or something that's less kosher? And not only in tzedakah, you know, but in any sort of, you know, when we buy, you know, kosher food starts with kosher money. You can buy food, a piece of meat or fish with the best hechsher, but if you stole the money to buy the food, so everything else will, you know, will suffer as a result. Okay, that's one story. Right? Any questions?
There's some major leisure.
Okay. Okay. If you don't have any questions now, you can ask it later if you think of something. It's okay.
You know what fungible means?
I've heard the word, I don't remember.
Fungible means that one money replaces another money.
Right. Okay.
So how do you know which money? I mean, he took in, let's say his yearly income is $1,000.
Right.
So he takes in $100 for the room, but it's mixed in with all the other monies.
Okay.
So how can you distinguish what's what?
Okay, that's a very good question. No, it's I don't know how to answer that question directly, right? But Rabbi Nachman says, and interestingly enough, in relationship to the Baal Shem Tov, that the Baal Shem Tov would get money from different sources, right? That he would get money from, the Baal Shem Tov worked as, did healing work, and would get paid for the healing work that he did. And the Baal Shem Tov would get paid from other sources. And Rabbi Nachman says that the money that the Baal Shem Tov received from Jews who were Shomrei Shabbos and, you know, and people who were Talmidei Chacham, that so the Baal Shem Tov took that money and gave it to the various tzaddikim, the storim, the hidden tzaddikim who would visit him. Money that he got from, let's say, his healing work, that he would pay his non-Jewish workers, and he'd pay for other things. And Rabbi Nachman says that even though the money was all mixed up by the Baal Shem Tov, but since he was Baal Shem Tov, automatically, you know, the recipient of the money received the money from, you know, an appropriate place for him. Right? For the rest of us, I don't know how that would work.
You could make the case, so you shouldn't mix your money, because it's like putting a bad apple in the barrel.
If it's possible, and that's not always possible, but, you know, yes, if it is possible, it might be a good idea. I never thought about that, you know, that question, but it's like that. Okay, let's a longer story about Rabbi Nachman. Because I'm really only supposed to be for 15 minutes now. Okay.
No, you speak more.
Okay.
Yes. Do what you want.
Rabbi Nachman told this story about himself. He said he had a dream. And he said he did not understand the interpretation or how to interpret the dream. And what was the dream? That it was after Rosh Hashanah, And as was common and is common, when the Hasidim leave from visiting their Rebbe, they go in and they get permission to leave and return home. So Rabbi Nachman saw in this dream that there was an individual who had been one of his Hasidim, who had come to him in the past, and he wasn't there for that Rosh Hashanah. Right? Now, what Rabbi Nachman didn't know, and he said this when he retold the dream, was that Chassid did not show up for Rosh Hashanah because he had died. Right? So now in the dream, the Chassid comes and is standing there, and Rabbi Nachman says to him, "Where were you for Rosh Hashanah?" So the Chassid said to him, "Well, I didn't come because I died. I'm dead, So Rabbi Nachman said to him, "That's not an excuse. That's what's wrong. So you're dead. So what? So just because you're dead, you can't come to me for Rosh Hashanah? Right? You should come anyway." So the Chassid in the dream, the Chassid doesn't say anything. So the Rabbi Nachman in the dream says to him, "Well, maybe you don't have enough emunah in me that you should come to me for Rosh Hashanah. So go to a different tzaddik. There's not only one tzaddik, there are many tzaddikim, many very big tzaddikim. Go." So the Chassid asks, "Who should I go to?" So Rabbi Nachman says, "Well, why don't you go to that one?" And he mentioned the famous tzaddik of the time. So the Chassid said, "I'm very far from that tzaddik. I don't really have such connection with that tzaddik that I should go to him." So Rabbi Nachman said, "Well, go to this one, or to that one, or the other one." And to each of the suggestions that Rabbi Nachman made, the Chassid replied, "Well, I'm very far from this one and that one and the other one." So Rabbi Nachman said to him, "Well, if you're far from all of them, well, might as well just come back to me and stay here." And the Chassid replies to him, "To you, I'm very far from you." And what happens in the dream is that the Chassid, it's the midday, and the sun is overhead, and the Chassid rises up to the sun, and then the sun starts to go west and starts to set, and the whole time the Chassid is, I guess, standing or sitting, whatever is next to the sun, and setting with the sun, and then following the path of the sun, the Chassid reaches the other side of the earth, and is standing on the other side of the earth, right? And Rabbi Nachman reports that in the dream, he hears the Chassid cry out and call out to him, "Look how far I am from you. I said to you, I'm far from you. This is how far I am from you." Right? That's the dream. Right? And Rabbi Nachman himself said he didn't understand how to interpret this dream. But one thing that the Rebbe did say about this dream, right? And that is that a Yid has to have emunas tzaddikim. A Yid has to have faith in tzaddikim. There are many tzaddikim. A person may have difficulty in choosing, in finding, selecting which is the tzaddik that he or she should follow. Right? But a person has to know this is not only important, but this is crucial. It's crucial to a Jew to have a connection to a tzaddik, right? Personally, people ask me, of course, I say, well, Rabbi Nachman, for me, Rabbi Nachman works, right? And I really think that the Rabbi Nachman can work for everybody. But the litmus test is, for whatever sort of tzaddik a person wants to connect to, there are two elements. First of all, the person has to mean l'shem shamayim. The person has to be sincere. Whoever you're looking for, whomever you choose, you have to be sincere in your choice. That is, you're choosing that tzaddik because you really, honestly, and truly believe that being affiliated and associated with that tzaddik will help you in your Jewishness. You'll daven better, you'll keep Shabbos better, whatever sort of Torah study you have will be better, you'll be kinder, more generous, more giving, right? You'll be every sort of midah, less angry, That's the litmus test, right? That's the litmus test that a person has to look for in a tzaddik. Is my association, is my studying what that tzaddik says, hanging around with people who do study what that tzaddik says,